There is a version of overwhelmed that nobody talks about enough. Not the dramatic kind, not the crisis moment where everything falls apart at once and the emergency is obvious. The quiet kind, the kind that builds slowly. One responsibility added to another, one obligation stacked on top of the last, until one ordinary Tuesday you look up and realize you are exhausted in a way that a good night of sleep is not going to fix. Everything is fine, and yet nothing feels light. You are functioning, but just barely. You are showing up, but there is nothing left in reserve. The margin is gone. And underneath the busyness, there is a weariness that has been building for longer than you probably realize. That is the version of overwhelmed that most people are actually living in, and Jesus speaks directly into it. Matthew 11:28. Jesus says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28 ESV. Come to me, all who labor, all who are heavy laden, not some, not the ones whose burdens are heavy enough to qualify, all. Every person carrying something that has made them tired, every person whose load has grown past what they were designed to carry alone. All of them. Come. Now, understand the world Jesus was speaking into when he said this. The religious culture of his time had layered requirement upon requirement onto everyday people. The law had been expanded into hundreds of additional rules that touched every part of daily life. What you could eat, how far you could walk, how you had to wash your hands, what work was permissible on which day. Ordinary people were trying to navigate an exhausting system of religious obligation and failing, and carrying the weight of that failure on top of everything else. They were not just physically tired, they were spiritually tired. The version of faith they had been handed felt like a heavier burden than the one it was supposed to lift. And into that, Jesus says something that must have sounded almost too good to be believed. Come to me, and I will give you rest. Not, come to me and I will give you a list of things to do to earn the rest. Not, come to me once you have cleaned yourself up enough to be worth helping. Come, as you are, with the full weight of whatever you are carrying, and I will give you rest. That word, give, matters. Rest is not something you achieve in Jesus' framing. It is something he gives. It is not the reward at the end of the to-do list. It is not what happens after you have finally finished everything. It is a gift, offered freely, to the ones who are tired enough to stop trying to manage the weight alone and actually bring it to him. Think about what you are currently carrying, not just the obvious things. The background hum of worry about the future, the unresolved situation you keep returning to in your mind, the pressure of trying to be everything to everyone, the slow accumulation of things you said yes to when you should have said no, the grief that you keep pushing to the side because there is no time to sit with it properly. Jesus sees all of it, every layer, every piece you have been managing quietly without bringing it to him, and he is not saying, handle what you can and bring me the rest. He is saying, come, all of it, all of you, come. That invitation is still open today. It has not expired. It was not limited to the people who heard him say it on that hillside 2,000 years ago. It is the same invitation extended to every tired, heavy-laden person who has ever needed rest that the world could not provide. That includes you, right now. In whatever version of overwhelmed you are currently living in, come to me, and I will give you rest. Jesus does not stop at verse 28. He keeps going, and what he says next changes the whole picture. Matthew 11:29-30. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. A yoke in Jesus' world was a wooden frame placed across the shoulders of two animals to allow them to pull a load together. It was a familiar image for everyone listening, but Jesus reframes it completely. He says, take my yoke, Not no yoke, not total freedom from all burden, a different one, his. And then he says something about himself that is quietly stunning. I am gentle and lowly in heart. Of all the things Jesus could have said about himself in this moment, he chose gentleness and humility, not power, not authority, not all the things that would have made the most impressive case for why following him was the right choice. Gentleness, lowliness of heart. He was telling the tired, burdened people standing in front of him, I am not going to add to what is crushing you. I am not going to be one more voice demanding more than you have left to give. I am safe. I am gentle. You can actually put this down when you come to me, and what I ask of you instead is light enough to carry. That is the exchange he is offering, the heavy, crushing load of trying to manage life entirely on your own strength, for the light, shared burden of walking alongside him. Not a burden-free life, a different kind of burden, one that does not crush, one that has his strength underneath it. Now here is where this gets practical, because most people hear this invitation and genuinely want to receive it, and then walk right back into the same patterns of overloading themselves, saying yes to everything, never protecting margin, never bringing the weight to our Father before it becomes unbearable, operating as if everything depends entirely on their own effort and endurance. That is not coming to Jesus. That is managing the load until it collapses, and then coming to Jesus in the crisis, recovering enough to function, and repeating the cycle. The invitation in Matthew 11 is not a crisis response. It is a daily posture, a way of moving through life that keeps returning to Jesus with the weight before it becomes unbearable. That brings him into the ordinary Tuesday, not just the emergency. That learns from his gentleness and begins to extend that same gentleness toward yourself. Because here is something worth sitting with. Jesus describes himself as gentle and lowly in heart. And then he says, learn from me. He is not just offering rest from the outside. He is inviting you into a way of being that produces rest from the inside, a gentleness with yourself that mirrors how he actually sees you, a release of the crushing self-expectation that keeps the load heavier than it needs to be. You were not designed to carry everything. You were designed to carry what is yours, with his help, and nothing more. The rest was never yours to hold. Our Father knows your limits better than you do, and he is not impressed by how much you can endure without asking for help. He is near to the one who is honest enough to say, this is too heavy. I cannot do this alone. I need rest. That honesty is not weakness. It is exactly the posture Jesus is describing when he says, come to me. It is the open hand instead of the clenched fist, the released grip instead of the white-knuckled hold. It is trusting our Father enough to actually let him carry what he said he would carry. Whatever is making you tired today, bring it. Not the edited version, not the portion you think is acceptable to need help with. All of it, the whole load. Come to the one who is gentle and lowly in heart, who will not add to what is crushing you, who gives rest as a gift to everyone who is willing to receive it. His yoke is easy, his burden is light, and the rest he gives goes all the way down to the soul. What is our Father saying to you through this today? Take a moment to think about that.